Coming up on Heartland Highways, we'll check out Roger Miller's soda fountain, complete with cars, memorabilia, and vintage signs.
Then, the Missouri Botanical Gardens in St. Louis are one of the top 3 such gardens in the world, and we'll take you on a tour.
And finally, we'll meet up with a volunteer group of archaeologists in Crawford County, Illinois. Find out what they're digging up. That's next on Heartland Highways.
Thanks for joining us for another edition of Heartland Highways. As people know, on this show, it's all about finding interesting people and places, and Roger Miller is no exception.
His collection of memorabilia, cars, and signs definitely made for a refreshing stop along the Heartland Highways.
I've always been interested in automotive. I had cars as a young kid and worked at the gas station as a young kid, and so anything related to automobiles or a gas station, I kind of found an interest. So anything that brings back a good memory, you know, if we can afford it, we try to pick it up. And of course, I grew up in Timothy, which is a mile up the road, and they had a gas pump and just one gas pump there. So that's where kind of it all got started. Some of the stuff come from Timothy. Like I say, I was born and raised at Timothy. The hospital burnt in Effingham, so I was actually born there. The store was just up the road, maybe 100 yards, so it was a major part of my life. And some of the stuff, the calendars, the signs, the gas pump out in front, some of the pictures, of course, all relate to Timothy.
We both enjoy that very much, collecting things. As I mentioned, I have a great interest in history, so to me the knowledge that people actually drove these vehicles, people use these objects, to me, that is what makes it special.
And really, Roger Miller and his wife Carol's collection started with just one truck and eventually evolved into the collection you see here of multiple trucks, cars, signs, and memorabilia.
They're all 47 Dodge trucks, and basically I started with those just because that was the first one I bought. And that's been probably 30 years ago. It was 1.5 tons, and since then we've picked up a 1/2 ton, 2 3/4 tons, a ton, and another, how many is that?
5.
That's all we have, yeah. So and then the car was my father's. It's a 28 Chrysler, and then I had a 49 Dodge Coronet. No significance, it was just the first one, and then we redid it, and we had some extra parts, and I found another one, and the parts fit on it, so we just kind of started with a 47 Dodge and just continued with it.
Roger's collection was stored here and there for a while until Carol got the idea that it all needed a worthy home.
It was actually her idea to build a pole barn. Like I say, we built a pole barn in 2004, and it was her idea to build it because we had stuff, the trucks were scattered around at different places, and we didn't really have a place to keep anything, and the garage next door was full of some of this stuff. So it was her idea to build the garage, and of course I didn't protest too much. So we built it in 2004, poured the concrete in 2005, and it really didn't start off as just like this, but this is pretty well how it's ended up. So
Roger and Carol collect together. They visit swap meets and antique shops and markets to expand their collection. The pieces they buy all have to fit a certain criteria, however, before they're given a home in the Miller's old-fashioned gas station and soda fountain.
I have a great interest in history. I actually majored in it as an undergrad, and I like to think I had a little influence on him in regard to that, but we do it together.
Part of it is that, we don't collect one, you see a lot of license plates. I collect a lot of license plates. I have them from 1979 to 1914. We like to collect Coke machines, candy machines, bubble gum machines, oil cans, anything related to 50s basically, or early 60s. And that's kind of a desire we have. You know, we really don't have room for any more vehicles, but we're always willing to get some more stuff. So.
The Millers occasionally have groups or a passerby stop in and they welcome them. They say if they're home, they're happy to open up shop. And the reaction most people have to their collection is the same.
We've had different responses. Most of them are kind of shocked because we do live on a dead-end road in the country, and it's kind of unique to see a gas station, first of all, in the country. Second of all, when you walk in, it's you know, there's a lot of stuff in here. I don't know whether it's good stuff or what, but there's a lot of stuff in here, and it kind of surprises them, I think. Maybe sometimes how big it is in here.
A lot of times they're very nostalgic, and they enjoy that. Particularly people who grew up around the area. And they find a real connection with it.
And it's nice to have someone come in, an older person, and it brings back a memory, you know, that they can remember their childhood, and that makes it worthwhile then. So.
And certain items bring back more memories than others.
Well, the candy machine for one, for the man from Matt Toon, and then a lot of the pictures, the baseball bats from the baseball team. We have a chair from the Cumberland County Fair, box seat, pop bottles. We really don't collect one certain thing. We just collect a lot of different things. Something that brings back, you know, memories to us, and hopefully bring back memories to other people too.
Other people like their grandchildren. Roger built an old-fashioned soda fountain and says that, along with the collection of memorabilia and cars, has been a big hit.
And our grandchildren love coming in here. We have 10 grandchildren, and they adore it.
Yeah, the soda fountain I built, I found the bar stools at a swap meet, and I knew I could only use 3 of them because I didn't have room for very much, but I just wanted to put it in. We have a refrigerator behind it, so we keep sodas out here. It's kind of part of the 50s, which, you know, the trucks are 50s. Of course, Elvis is 50s, so it's just part of our decoration out here, basically.
Roger and Carol say they're always looking for more items to add to their collection, but at the end of the day, they're just glad they're able to enjoy what they do have.
The best part for me is to be able to walk out here and sit down and enjoy it. You know, I look around and, you know, a lot of people collect stuff and they keep it put away somewhere where they can't see it, or I'm able to come out here and just sit down on the table and chairs and look around and enjoy what I have. You know, it's nice to be able to see your collection.
Some of our favorite adventures were ideas that came from viewers like you. If you think there's a place we should see or a person we should meet, let us know about it.
In this next story, we're headed to the oldest botanical garden in the U.S. and one of the top 3 in the world. Located on 79 acres, this National Historic Landmark is known to many in the St. Louis area simply as Shaw's Gardens. That's because well over a century ago, Henry Shaw pursued his vision to create a botanical garden for everyone to enjoy. Henry Shaw was first introduced to gardening at an early age while growing up in Sheffield, England. By the age of 18, he made his way to St. Louis to open up a hardware and cutlery business. It was 1819, and the Mississippi River town would prove to be so prosperous for Henry that he was able to retire just 20 years later.
He writes that in that year alone, that's 1839, he made $25,000, and that's more money than any man should make in 1 year's time. Now, we can kind of laugh at that some today, but if you add that to the rest of his holdings, he had closer to $250,000, and that's equivalent to over $4 million today. So he was very wealthy for his time.
Henry spent the next 10 years buying land and traveling throughout Europe and the United States. He also built a country house for himself, which he named Tower Grove. But rather than simply building a garden to surround the home, Henry wanted to give something back to the residents of St. Louis, the Missouri Botanical Garden.
And Shaw used to love to use the Latin names. As a matter of fact, his whole intention was to call the garden Hortus Botanicus Missourianus. But his advisors warned him not to, that people wouldn't be able to say it as easily as he could. He also got a little ahead of himself because he actually thought he was going to open up the garden in 1858. And when visitors look at the Tower Grove Avenue side of the Spink Pavilion, they'll see that inscribed in the stone. But the garden doesn't open up until the following year, in 1859.
Shaw's vision included more than just a beautiful garden and park, but also an extensive research and education facility.
The whole idea of the garden, Missouri Botanical Garden, was to set out plants in a systematic fashion so that people could really explore and understand the connections of the plant families and then also plants to human life.
And today, the Missouri Botanical Garden operates as one of the most active and important research operations in the world. It's what often is referred to as the hidden garden.
We have people all over the world. We have an extensive program in Madagascar. We have researchers who are constantly updating the flora of different countries, such as China or South America. And we are very active in trying to discover medicines, cures for cancer. We've got people working on things like that. So extensive research program and botanists that not everybody gets to see.
Since its opening in 1859, the Missouri Botanical Garden has grown from its original Tower Grove site to encompass 79 acres, filled with a wide variety of gardens, fountains, and historic buildings.
Missouri Botanical Gardens is really a nice blend of some brand new gardens that we're always adding on, in addition to some gorgeous historic structures. The Linnaean House is one of our greenhouses. It's actually the oldest continuously operating greenhouse this side of the Mississippi River. That was built in the 1800s underneath Henry Shaw, and it currently houses our camellia collection. We also have some gorgeous sculptures on the grounds, and some of those have been around since Henry Shaw's time as well. And we have a few artifacts that are left over from the 1904 World's Fair that you can see here.
The garden draws hundreds of visitors each day to browse the areas that were part of the original design, as well as new additions and attractions.
If someone hasn't been to the Missouri Botanical Garden in the past decade, they will notice some changes. One of our new gardens is our George Washington Carver Garden. It's located near the Japanese Garden and the Kemper Center, and it's the first garden of its kind to honor George Washington Carver, who was a famous scientist from Missouri, and he did a lot of research with crop rotation, and of course he's known for all of his peanut discoveries.
The garden has also become a favorite spot for families. Just follow the noise and laughter and you'll know you're in the Doris Schnook Children's Garden.
But it's a nearly 2-acre garden. It's geared towards children, ages 12 and under, but specifically ages 4 to 10. And it's a Missouri adventure. It really takes them back to Missouri in the 1800s. So kids can really get a feeling for all of the different sorts of things that they use at home, medicine and food, and what all has come from plants. And so it's a really, really fun educational place to be. We've got every Missouri ecosystem represented. Kids can crawl in a cave, they can board a steamboat, or they can climb to the heights of a treehouse. So there's a lot of fun, but learning as well.
If peace and quiet is more your style, then the 14-acre Japanese garden might be what you're looking for. Purchase a handful of fish food and the koi that live in the lake will almost eat it right out of your hand. Home gardeners can get ideas for their next backyard project by spending some time in the William Kemper Center for Home Gardening. This area contains 23 residential scale gardens. Tower Grove House, Henry Shaw's country estate, reopened in 2005 after a 2-year restoration project. Today, the house has been returned back to the way it appeared prior to Shaw's death in 1889.
At the time this house was built, city limits hadn't come out this far. He had a city house as well, though, that was on the corner of 7th and Locust. So he would travel between the two houses. That was about a distance of 7 miles. And it would take about a half day by horseback or by buggy to get out here. And he would come out here maybe 2 to 3 times a week.
Outside, the Victorian gardens have also been restored, including the 5.5-foot hedge maze. Henry Shaw's final resting place is located on the grounds beneath a canopy of oak trees. Throughout the year, there are many special events and exhibits at the garden. During our visit in the summer of 2006, the work of glass artist Dale Chihuly was beautifully displayed amongst the gardens. Many of the pieces were located inside the renowned Climatron.
It was built in 1960, and it houses our tropical rainforest. So, well, the St. Louis climate sometimes can be a little hot and muggy, but when you step in there, you feel like you're in Florida. I mean, it's a true tropical atmosphere, complete with the humidity and the 85-degree heat all year round.
The Botanical Garden is open year-round, so whether you have a serious green thumb or just looking for a peaceful or not so peaceful way to spend a day, the garden can offer something for everyone. The meticulous planning and careful thought set out by Henry Shaw more than a century ago is still evident today, not only in the beauty of the garden, but also in its mission to discover and share knowledge about plants and the environment in order to preserve and enrich life.
Finally, we visited an archaeology club in Crawford County, Illinois. Now this group is made up of all volunteers who excavate their way into the county's history. I met up with them near Palestine, Illinois to see what their latest project was all about. Can you dig it? You might say they're a group of history-loving dirt diggers, which wouldn't be too far off, but they like to call themselves the Central Wabash Archaeological Chapter.
We conduct archaeological digs and historic research, do our best to preserve the history of our area.
Our primary objective is the discovery, research, and preservation of prehistoric history. We try to stay in the Wabash Valley, primarily Crawford, Clark, Lawrence counties, maybe Jasper County.
On the sunny day I caught up with this group, they were on one of their sites near Palestine, Illinois.
These sites we dig are known archaeological sites. This site had a very small amount of archaeological work done, I believe in 1961. Then we conducted a very small dig here about 6 years ago. And this year we decided to do something a little bit bigger. We're actually doing a 3-meter by 3-meter dig, which in the archaeological world is a decent sized dig for this type of site. This site has been surface hunted for several years, like all sites. The rise we're standing on was once home to a late archaic race of people we know as the Riverton culture. They lived here approximately 3,100 to 3,500 years ago. These people were hunters and gatherers, meaning every day was pretty well devoted to getting up and finding your food and the necessities of life for survival. Mother Nature was the super Walmart at that time. These people relied heavily on muscle meat for their diet. When they were done with their shells, they would discard them. After 400 years of doing that, they built the rise that you can see. We're basically digging through their trash, you know, some over 3,000 years ago.
But you can actually learn a lot from trash, especially trash that's this well preserved.
Every shell you see on this site, every rock you see, was picked up by people like you and I over 3,000 years ago. The bone artifacts we're finding has got phenomenal preservation. That's due to the presence of the mussel shell. If you put bone in the ground around here, you know, a dozen years, 20 years or so, it just goes to pieces. But if you put bone and shell together in the ground, the mussel shell will forever preserve the bone. And that's why the condition of the bone artifacts we're finding so phenomenal.
The Central Wabash Archaeological Chapter has been in operation for over 40 years and uses specific guidelines and processes when uncovering artifacts like these.
What we're doing, the test pit you see over here is a test area, and we will survey, and we have what we call a datum point. This is measured from boundary lines and from areas where we can relocate that exact point. So we know exactly where we have excavated. We know each level. We can tell within a couple of inches where any one item came from. So you can actually reconstruct it on paper. And we will also do a manual or a paperwork on it. Take pictures of every level, the different colors in the soil. And it'll be there for future generations for their study. So we're trying to salvage all the information we can out of each excavation.
Each artifact that is found is cleaned, logged, and eventually displayed at the Crawford County Museum in Robinson, Illinois. The chapter believes that the artifacts and history that comes along with them belong to the public and should be made accessible.
Every bag is marked. And we know, like I said, we know the exact location. When we get time later in the winter, we will wash all of them, clean them up. The good artifacts that are displayable will go in cases that will be in the museum. Each piece is marked with a catalog number so we know the exact location of it. And the bone, when we can get people to do it, we'll have them identify all the bone. And this would go in our manual.
The people helping with the dig are all members of the chapter or volunteers who are simply there for their love of history.
To actually pick something up that a man or woman made and used over 3,000 years ago just has its own thrill. When you can see the actual work that they put in to build the artifact, it's just, I don't know, I can't put it into words. You just have to have a love for history and the past.
I think it's the curiosity of humans to want to know where they origin from, what life was like, 3,500 BC. Yeah, I think it's just an inherent nature of human to want to know, hey, where did I come from and where am I going to end up at?
Now, anyone can come out and dig with the chapter. Just bring a pair of gloves and a little willingness to get dirty. The digs happen throughout most of the year and are generally advertised as open house digs.
We have ages from varies from 4 or 5 years old. We've had people up pushing 80 out here working.
What we're trying to do is generate interest in the younger people. We're not always going to be around, and we feel that this is history. We want to indoctrinate them in our ways, I guess.
Kate, I can't believe this wraps up the 10th season of Heartland Highways.
Me either, but if you want more information about the show anytime, you can go to our webpage at weiu.net.
Sounds good, and we'll see you out on the Heartland Highways where every mile is an adventure. If you'd like to purchase a copy of any Heartland Highways program, contact us at 1-877-727-9348 during regular business hours. You can also visit our online store at weiu.net or mail your order with payment to the address on your screen. DVDs are available for $25 each. Visa, MasterCard, Discover, or American Express are accepted. Just let us know what show you're interested in by mentioning the story name or the person featured in the show. Now, you've seen the show. You may be wondering where we're actually at as we tape these introductions. It's actually not a restaurant.
We are in a dining hall here at Eastern Illinois University, which they were gracious enough to let us use during the holiday break.
Yeah, this is called Stevenson Tower, and the reason you don't see any people here is we're actually filming during Eastern's holiday break, and that also means no students, but it also means there's no food.
Guess we'll have to just go and get our own food.
Welcome back to Heartland Highways. Kate, as people know,
Heartland Highways. It's like she forgot what we do.
I don't.
Welcome back to Heartland Highways.
Is that what it sounded?
Yeah, you kind of wound it up. It was like Heartland Highways.
2, 1. Well, Cat.
I'm Kate. I'm melting again. Testing 1, 2, 3. Testing 1, 2, 3, 4.
Okay, I don't know what that is.
I think they want us to let them in. There's a buzzer over there.
Huh? I'm not letting anybody in.
Maybe it's a phone in there.
Oh, that's weird.
Sounded fine.
That's a nice way of saying that wasn't
That was a
very
nice way of
good.
saying, not your best work. We can do it again.
Yeah.
Why did you start accumulating or collecting this type of thing?
Well, I've always been interested in